Hey guys, what's going on? This is Anthrophic here, and in this video we're going to look at the AI SDK UI. If you remember, in the previous video we covered AI SDK core, which covers the Vercel AI SDK core SDK, which you can plug it into basically any TypeScript project and get your AI stuff done, create tools and create some cool AI experiences. So in this video we are going to explore the UI package of it, so you can use it in React and many other things like Svelte, and you can actually create such cool AI experiences for your web applications for the UI side of things. So I think it's a pretty cool thing, and we are also going to look at something called as generative UI, which is basically tool calling, but it actually shows you an UI for it. So the thing with generative UI is that if you want some information, it will give you a component instead of just plain text, and that gives a lot more control over what experiences you want your users to have. So if I type in here, which is basically something which we are going to create today. So if I say give me the current weather in Pune where I live, so if I send this, it gives me a component with the data. Now this data is random, absolutely, because I am not using any API to get this data, but you can. So you can have access to live data, you can call APIs, you can do a lot of different stuff, and you can just provide a component to the user. So this could be interactive as well. So if this was a stock bot, you can basically have purchasing stock power right in the component itself. So you can just ask the chatbot, hey, buy me the stock, and you can just present a component with a confirmation button and just everything, all the details you want to have there. So basically this is what we are going to create in this video. So AI SDK UI is really not that straightforward as AI SDK core, but I'm going to try to make it a lot more easier for you to learn. So let's get started. So we are in the AI SDK UI documentation. I will leave the link in the description below so that you can easily go ahead and check out the documentation. As every video, I like to read the documentation and try to explain it to you in the documentation terms so that you get more used to reading documentations in the future, which is a pretty good skill, I must say. So yeah, AI SDK UI. AI SDK UI is designed to help you build an interactive chat, completion and assistant application with ease. It is a framework agnostic toolkit, streamlining the integration of advanced AI functionalities in your application. Now there's a lot of different things. Use Chat offers real-time streaming of chat messages, abstracting state management for input, messages, loading errors, and allowing seamless integration into any UI design. So I like the fact that they abstract state management for input, message and stuff. So I think that's pretty cool. You don't need to save messages into your own array and have that entire like weird array thing and have use effects to do it. This package handles it all. So yeah, now if we look at the UI framework support, so if you're someone who is not using React directly and using basically Vue or Svelte or Solid, so you can see the functionality that is here and like which is available. Basically in React everything is available. In this video we are going to use React, so technically we are just going to use Next.js because it's easiest to use with it, but you can typically just use Vite and have like a server slapped on it and do anything you want. You will need a server because you actually need to have an API key, OpenAI API key, and you cannot leak it to the public by having it to the environment variables of the client side. So in this video we're going to cover the use chat hook, which is basically the chatting one, and you can explore all these three, but I think it's going to be a super long video, so I just want to cover the use chat hook here. So if we go here, it gives you some features. So it says message streaming, manage states, and seamless integration. It's the same thing that we read before, and it gives you some cool stuff on how to use it. Now in the first look itself, it's a pretty neat code. You know, like if you're doing this from scratch, you would actually need to go ahead and manage states like all the messages and do the API calling yourself. But here they simply have messages.map, and this message is coming from the use chat hook, and then you have a form with a submit button, and which basically just submits the form and you don't need to even do anything. So yeah, I think it's pretty easy, and we're gonna do it now. So let's go to the terminal, and now here we are gonna do pnpx create next app. I'm not using bun here because there's something about streaming which doesn't really work with bun. I'm not sure if it's fixed or not, Pretty sure it fixed, but I don't want to take risks in this video. I'm probably gonna just go with PNPM in this tutorial. So yeah, we are gonna say AI SDK UI YT. It's gonna leave everything to default, and yeah. Yeah, perfect. Now cd AI SDK UI YT, and now we can install some packages. So first of all, we need AI, and then we need AI SDK slash OpenAI, because we're going to use the OpenAI APIs. If you want to use Claude, you can use Anthrophic providers or like whatever you want to do. So, but in this video, we're just going to use GPT-4 Mini because I have the credits for it and it's cheap, I think so. So yeah. So other than that, we also need the Zod package for basically having the parameters and stuff and typing them. So yeah. And once this is done, we can simply just open our code editor and we can just get going with it. So I'm gonna open this in Cursor. This is my new favorite code editor. You might have heard all the buzz around Cursor. So yeah, I'm just giving this full screen. I'm just gonna throw it into a different window so we don't need to worry about it. And now we are gonna do pnpm dev and just run the dev server. Sorry. pnpm dev. Let's run the server. It's using turbo pack, so it's going to be a little faster, but since I'm recording, it's never going to be that fast anyway. So yeah, now we are gonna do this and we are gonna have our own UI, so as we saw before. So first of all, we actually need to get the API key here. So what I want you to do is go to your provider. If it's OpenAI, go to OpenAI. If it's Anthrophic, go to Anthrophic, get your OpenAI key. If you are just starting out, what I would recommend, the cheapest solution, or I think the free solution, I think is like the XAI. It's the Grok model. So basically you can just grab an API key from XAI for free. This video is not sponsored by them, but if I didn't have OpenAI credits, I would probably use Grok in this video. So you can just grab that API key and just have it here. So I'm gonna create a new file called .env.local, and here I'm gonna have OpenAI API key, and I'm just gonna have an equal to, and I'm gonna paste the API key here, and then we're gonna go ahead with the next parts of the tutorial. So I'm gonna be back. I'm not gonna show you my API key, of course. First things first, what I wanted to remind you again is that the API calls that goes to LLMs are actually made on the server side, so it's not on the client side. So we need to actually create a point, an endpoint basically, where all of these things happen. So basically we're just going to use the AI SDK core to do all of this, and all the hooks and stuff are the AI SDK UI, but they basically just contact the endpoint and just coordinate with it and do all the magic. So now what we're going to do is in the app, we are just going to go ahead and create a new folder. We are going to call it API/chat, and inside we are going to have a new file called route.ts. basically just mention this is an API endpoint. And now, first of all, we're going to do export const max duration 30. So basically means it's 30 seconds. Now what we're going to do is do export async function post, and of course we're going to have request. I think next request is no longer required. You can simply have request here. And we are not going to use the OpenAI package. We're just going to do, yeah, I think this is one thing we need to do. And then we are going to do const result is equal to stream text. We're actually going to stream text to the client side. So basically it's going to be like, if you have watched my AI SDK core video, which I highly recommend you to watch, the text will be streamed instead of like having one huge chunk of text after like 1 minute of processing. So yeah, I'm gonna auto import this, and then yeah, now we also need a system prompt. So I'm just gonna have a system prompt. You are a helpful assistant. I'm gonna use the GPT-4 Mini. So now if you actually don't have an API key called as OpenAI API key, so if you don't have an environment variable as OpenAI API key like this, you need to actually configure the API key by creating an OpenAI here. But if you have it like that, you don't need to do it. You can simply call it like this, and it will call the proper API keys for you. So you don't need to worry about anything. So yeah, now here instead of result, we're just going to do data stream response. So basically, we're just gonna say this is a stream, and yeah. Now this is our point of contact for all stuff LLMs, which our client side will call. We are going to make some changes to it later when we get to the tool calling sides, but for now let's just go ahead and deal with the chat. So yeah, let's go ahead. Gonna remove everything from here. We don't need anything. A lot of things we are just gonna copy paste because I don't want to waste a lot of time here just like figuring out the UI and stuff. So first of all, here we're just gonna have this specific class name here. So I'm just gonna copy paste it. Flex call at screen, max width 6XL. Basically just making sure that it's aligned to the center, and then wfull and max auto for it to center actually. And max width 6XL so that we have a predefined maximum width, and it does not exceed that, and then it's very easy to manage responsiveness through that, although it's really not responsive to be honest, but it just looks good. Okay, so now we are going to have a messages thing, which is actually going to be a big chunk of the page. We are just going to comment this line for now, but basically we're going to have, okay, now we need to actually have the use chat hook first. So we're going to have const, yeah, not append, but we need to have input, yeah. So yeah, now we can just remove the image thing, we don't need it. We already have access to the message. We will create the component later on, but what I want to do here is first of all, like I'm just going to copy paste this code because I don't want to spend a lot of time, to be honest. Okay, so this code from here, what it does is like it creates a form with an handle submit function, which we get from the use chat hook. So what happens is like whenever you handle submit, the message gets submitted to the LLM and you get a response back, and all of it is handled by the AI SDK, and you don't need to worry about anything at all. So it calls the endpoint and everything. So you just need to have on change as handle input change and input. You don't need to create any states also. It handles every single thing. And yeah, this is basically an SVG for an arrow, which cursor generated for me. You don't need to worry about it. And then you also have a button to submit, even enter will work. And now we need to actually create a component. So I'm going to actually go ahead and create the new component in here. So I'm just going to go components, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new messages component .tsx, message.tsx actually, RFC, message. And now I'm actually gonna go ahead and show you what I actually did here. So I think it's we actually just get message from here. So basically we're just gonna get the message right there. So like when we are mapping, we are just gonna get the message right away. So basically we just need to do import type here so that it works perfect. And now what we can just do is we can actually do the styling stuff. So basically what I have tried to do is if the user sends a message, the color will remain the same, but if the assistant is sending the message, the text, like the background, will be a little bit grayish. So I'm gonna save this, and I'm gonna like basically it's just checking if the message.role is equal to assistant. So if it's like the AI who's replying to you, the background will be gray, and if it's not, it's just going to be normal. And then yeah, it's just normal thing. If it's the user, we are just going to have the U label. If it's the assistant, it's going to be the A label. I'm sorry if I'm not focusing a lot on UI, but this is really not the focus of the tutorial. This is about how you can use the AI SDK. So now I'm going to uncomment this, and I'm going to auto import this, and it should work. Yeah. Now if we go back and go to localhost 3000, we should have the UI if we did everything correct. So let's wait for localhost 3000 to appear. Yeah, the first time it does, it's a little bit slow, but let's wait for it. It says use chat, failed to compile. Yeah, pretty sure, because this is supposed to be a client component. So yeah, perfect. And this is also supposed to be a client component. So let's do this. Yeah. Now if we type a message, hello, let's see what happens. Okay. So if I ask in what's the weather in Pune, it's only going to give us text answers. So let's see what happens. Yeah, it says it does not have a real-time data. So we actually need to create a tool for it, and the tool gives it the weather and it actually presents it in the form of components. So we're gonna do that right now. So now we have the basic chatting system done. Now we can simply go ahead and focus on the tools part of the video. So what we need to do is we need to create the tools. So I'm going to create a new folder called as AI, and here we're going to call tools.ts and export const get weather, which is going to be tool, and we are going to have a description, get the current weather in the given location. Parameters is going to be, we need to import Zord for it. So yeah, so parameters is going to be z.object. So basically the parameters is going to be a location string, the city and state. So we will change the city city, state or country to get the weather for. And in execute, we are actually gonna go ahead and give some random weather. We are not going to call the API. So the location here, we will have access to that location here. And what we are actually doing to get this random stuff is actually just using playing with variables. So I'm just gonna get it here and show you what's happening. So basically we have a weather types array. We are only supporting two weathers, currently sunny and rainy. You just understand that this is just a basics to teach you how the SDK works and not actual functionality. So this is basically fake weather, to be honest, and cursor generated this for me. So yeah, it's basically sunny or rainy, and it just generates some random temperature and it passes it and it returns it back to the client side. So yeah, this will be returned to the client side, and then we can go ahead and access the tools. Now what we want to do is we actually need to go to, okay, first of all, I think we should create the weather component because it's the most easiest. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy it. It's going to be pretty easy. It's just going to be displaying stuff. So weather.tsx, I'm going to paste this. So now we are getting 4 props here, just like we passed it back here. So it's going to be easy for us. Location, temperature and weather. Location, temperature, weather, and tool call ID for key purposes, like providing key. But basically whatever you pass here is written back to the client, and you can simply pass them as props. So we are just passing the tool call ID, and then we are just having a class name and making the colors different based on the weather type. So if it's sunny, we are just going to have it like a little yellow. If it's rainy, it's going to be blue, and then we are just going to display everything like this here. Again, we are not going to focus a lot on UI. I'm just going to show you how this works. So this component, we need to actually render this whenever the LLM feels that it needs to get a tool. It needs to execute a tool, or it needs to get some information, right? So how do we do this? How do we make this component render whenever the tool is called by the LLM? So if we already go back to the route.ts file, we actually need to have the tool called here first of all. So what we want to do is I'm going to create a new object. So export const tools, and here we're going to have get weather. So what will happen is that I can simply go here and say tools, and I can simply say yeah, and now I'm gonna save this, and wherever I add some tools to this specific object, those tools will automatically be enabled in the LLM. So yeah, So get weather is just one tool. If you want to have some more, you can just add these here and add these to this object, and it will automatically be picked up. And you can basically add these tools to anywhere, any invocation you want to. So yeah, great. So now we need to the only problem remains that we need to actually call this component. Now what would happen is, if you ask the weather, it will actually go to the LLM and then it will return back the response. I'm gonna see what happens if something like this happens. So I'm gonna reload this, and what if I say what is the weather in Pune? What will it do? Yeah, it basically gives you nothing because it was a tool call and there needs to be a response that we need to actually handle. So let's go back to the message.tsx, and now we can simply go ahead and okay, there is one more thing. Sometimes it does not work if we don't have max steps. So max steps, we're gonna have 5, and now I'm gonna reload and try again. Give weather of Pune. Yeah, it basically tried to show something, but then it says the current weather of Pune, India is sunny with the temperature of -5 degrees Celsius, which is absolutely made up because Pune never touches -5 degrees Celsius. Just a random data it generated, and it says it's sunny. So it gives you the text answer, right? But now what about the weather component? How do we make it render it? So the way to do it is actually here. So in message.tsx, we can simply go ahead and say message.tool tool invocation, and here we can say .map, and here we can have a tool, and this needs to be a function actually. So in map we are having this function, and now we can simply say const is equal to tool, and now we can just destructure it, and we can say get all of these stuff. So first of all, we need tool name, tool call ID, and we also need the state, not these two. So state. So now we can simply go ahead and cursor is very bad at predicting this, to be honest. So yeah, if state not state result. So basically if the tool call invocation is finished, so if we use some real API here, this would actually do some loading, and while it's loading we would actually show some loading state. So that's why we are checking if the result is already here. If the result is here, we would actually show the component. If not, we would actually show some kind of like loading stuff. So yeah, now we are assuming if we have the result, then we need to check which tool was called. So if tool name is equal to get weather, then we need to actually render the weather component here. So this is where we render the weather component, and here we actually have the key as tool call ID, and yeah, and it's not tool.output, it's tool.result, and whatever the result we get. So basically if we go to tools.ts, and this is the result we are expecting, and these are the same props that we are giving here plus the tool call ID. So yeah, now actually we also need to pass in the tool call ID here. Perfect. So if the result is there and if the tool name matches get weather, we can do this. So if you have additional tools, you can also add if conditions for them here, but we only have one, so we won't do that right now. So if it's not ready, if the result is not ready, we just need to have some loading stuff. So if you have multiple tools, you can also go and do fancy stuff here. You can just say weather is loading, loading weather data. Yeah, perfect. Now this should work. Pretty much it should work without any problems if we are lucky. So if we reload this page, now we can just say give me the weather in Pune. Yeah, it says one error. Yeah, I don't like this. Okay, there must be something. Yeah, this need to have a key. So key tool call ID. So if I reload this page again, give me the weather in Pune. Yeah, so yeah, now it also gives me a textual answer, but I think the thing you can use to stop this is like, actually you can just go here and say you can just have remove the max step, which is basically just one. Then you can also have tool choice required, so it does not automatically give you answers, assume it. So yeah, now let's go back and give me the weather of Pune. Let's hit enter, and now it says Pune, India, raining. Now it does not give you some random text. Give me the weather of Mumbai. Now I can just go and say Nagpur and say again Pune. Yeah, perfect. So if you didn't have the tool call required, it would actually use the old data from the component, and it would actually show you some textual answers. So which we are avoiding, which was just saying that use tools when you are asked to, basically. So yeah, so if you remove this, it will just going to give you textual answers after the first tool call invocation. So if you asked the weather of Pune the second time, it's going to give you answer in text. So now we can say, what do you think about the weather? It will actually give its information. So basically oh, this is cool. I didn't think that it would do this, but yeah, this is actually cool. Give me your opinion. I think the reason it's definitely because of tool call required. What other choices do we have? Auto, which we don't need to add this. Give me your opinion. Yeah, now we can just say give me weather of Pune, which we already have, so it should give us text now. Okay, Pune. Yeah, now it's it forgot the memory. Now it's giving the okay. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not, but if you have required, you can never go wrong. It will only show you the tools, and it won't actually give you textual answers at all, which is sometimes good. So if we can go ahead and say again, give me weather of Pune. What do you think about the weather? Yeah. What about weather in Delhi? Yeah. What are your opinions? Yeah, perfect. So yeah, this is working exactly how we expected it to. So yeah, great. So this was basically the AI SDK UI and using it with tools and doing the generative UI thing. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you got some value from this video on how you can create some awesome AI experiences in your web app using some UI magic by creating some components and stuff in React. So what do you think about the AI SDK UI? Do you think that it's really helping you to create some AI experiences in your web apps, or do you think it's just some random package which is not really helping that much? For my personal opinion is that the moment it said that it's going to handle state for you, that was the winner for me. So because like I don't need to worry about a lot of different things, I can just get started with the AI stuff in my app and just do what I actually need to do instead of worrying about all the different stuff which I don't need to handle, to be honest. So yeah, if you have any video ideas, go ahead and mention that in the comments below. I would really love to make some AI stuff on this channel as well. So if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, leave some comment, and please go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well. It really shows some support to this channel and I really need it at this time. I would really appreciate if you go ahead and hit the subscribe button, to be honest. So yeah, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.